Thank you, Teemu. Great to be here. Answer to Teemu's question, so what it is like to be a CEO. It's awesome and it's terrible at the same time. Recommend it to everyone. Today I will be opening up 10 pages from my CEO playbook. Unfortunately, the playbook isn't quite the slide. Thank you. Quite as awesome as Barney's playbook, but it's almost there. It's almost there. So about today, again, my slides aren't moving for some reason. Yes, about today. This is by the way great. Technical difficulties in the beginning of the presentation. Loving it. So I will be listing down 10 tips based on my couple of years of experience as a CEO, and also based on my previous experience in different leadership roles. The tips aren't CEO specific. They are fit to any leader out there. I see many leaders of today and leaders of tomorrow within this room, so I hope you will enjoy it. Again, there you go. Some tips may seem obvious, but I hope that you will find at least one thing in a presentation that you will take home today. Cool. So let me first introduce myself. My name is Henri Lindgren. I'm CEO of Lightneer. I've been in the industry for 12 odd years now in different types of leadership positions. Mostly in game producer roles, executive producer, head of studio. So game development and team leading is quite familiar to me, and quite like it as well. Currently CEO and chairman of the board at an awesome hybrid casual studio, Lightneer in Helsinki. And my leadership philosophy is definitely people-centric. I do have that pragmatic side as well, as you will see later on in presentation. But I believe in empowering people and coaching self-organized teams and individuals. My motto is kind of by growing our people, we also grow our businesses. On my spare time that I sometimes get, I love documentaries. I'm a bit of a geek. I love Warhammer 40k. Any Warhammer players in the audience? Awesome. Yes. Nerds unite. And also an active member of an amateur CSGO team, and also play floorball. I think our floorball team's captain is somewhere in the audience as well. So go Jopo. I'm also a dog dad. You can see my dog Pulla in the middle. He's awesome. And also quickly about Lightneer. I will be basing a lot of the points and tips to what we do at Lightneer, giving examples. So I think it's important that you also know kind of a baseline of what Lightneer is all about. Just 2 weeks ago, we crossed 125 million downloads across our games, so we're super proud of that achievement, very happy about that. And in addition to that, we actually just also peaked 1 million daily active users across our games, so we're extremely happy about that. There's 18 of us in that picture, and we'll be recruiting a couple of more people later this year. The future for us is in hybrid casual games. We aim to become the kings of hybrid casual games. One could now ask, what the hell are hybrid casual games? So just briefly, we aim to combine the best of both worlds. So between hyper casual and casual games, we will find the magic of hybrid casuals. But I'm not going to go into details about that because it will require another hour to do so. So let's get to it. 10 pages from first-time CEO's playbook. And I have to warn you, there's a bit more than 10 slides. So brace yourselves, take a good, comfortable position, and let's do this. Page 1. Culture is king. And everything starts with values. So values are the ones that are determining your culture. Your culture determines the behavior within the teams and within your company, and then behavior then determines the outcomes. Because values are so essential to the success and building the culture, I listed our values here: honesty, respect, and playfulness. I'm not going to go into details on these, but basically to understand the background of these values, one needs to also understand where do we come from as a company and what kind of games do we develop, what is the type of environment that we are working in. So we work in a very fast-paced environment. We develop prototypes. All of our game teams develop one prototype every month. So we develop 4 or 5 prototypes each month. So we need to have a culture that is very honest in terms of feedback, open about feedback, transparent and compassionate. We need to be able to trust each other within a team and have that freedom to do the decisions within the teams. And because of the environment is so tough and hectic, we need to have that fail-safe culture. So we need to be able to fail and build the culture to enable failing and continuous learning. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that culture is not the end goal. It is a tool that you as a leader use to guide and motivate your team to accomplish a business strategy. It is, however, the most important tool in your toolbox. So I recommend mapping out your personal and company values as early as possible and make decisions reflecting on them. Because culture is always stronger than one individual. It helps you not only in strategy execution, it helps you in onboarding, it helps you in recruiting, it helps you in so many different situations when you have built that culture from ground up. And it's also quite invisible, so you don't always kind of see when the culture is at play, but definitely recommend it. And one key thing about culture that there isn't one specific universally true culture. It's always depends what type of company you are, what type of business goals you have, what kind of strategy vision do you actually have. So there's suitable cultures, not any right or wrong ones. Page 2 of the playbook. People are your biggest asset, so make sure to take good care of them. The people are the ones that are making the games, not you. You should be facilitating their success and then essentially get out of their way. A couple of pointers how to facilitate this success. So first, have continuous one-on-one discussions with everyone, especially the ones near you. I understand that if you're in a company of, let's say, 60 or 100 people, it might be a tad difficult to have continuous one-on-one discussions with everyone in the company. However, you should at least try to have these one-on-one discussions with the leads or people around you. And during these one-on-one discussions, obviously, it's great to catch up and build that relationship with your team. But at least what we try to do in our one-on-one discussions is to map out a development path for each individual. So with development path, I mean competence and career development. As an example, a couple of years ago, we still used development discussions to execute this goal. Every 6 months, we had development discussions, and then we mapped out a very kind of organized way of, okay, this is going to be your next 6 months, and this is going to be your next 6 months. But we kind of saw that it's quite rare or seldom to have these discussions, so we wanted to have more of these and more often. So now we do these one-on-ones for 1 hour every 2 months with everyone in the team. So it helps to kind of get an understanding where the team is going and what you need to do. Thirdly, very important thing, continuously have fun with the team, do non-work activities. This is I think the only way to build real world connections and real connections with your team members to actually go out and do fun stuff. Page 3. Communicate expectations as clearly as possible. This may seem obvious, but it's super, super important. Why? It helps you and your team members to get fully aligned with what is expected from the role or the task. Again, may seem a bit obvious, but I think the second part, giving feedback and assessing performance becomes much easier when you and your team members know exactly what is expected from them or from the task. So definitely very important. It also helps to build a psychological safety within the teams. Basically, this feeling of being not enough. There's always a risk of those feelings emerging when the expectations aren't clear. So that's why it's very important to communicate the expectations as clearly as possible. Also, it helps the individual to do introspecting much more effectively. I know what is expected from me. I can reflect that and those expectations to the performance that I'm doing at the moment. So introspecting, going and think about how you are doing your job becomes that much easier. This is an example that we did a few weeks back with our operations team. There's me, our COO, tech lead, design leads, people specialists, and producers. Basically, what we did, we handed out tickets. Everyone kind of wrote down expectations from those teams or for those individuals. Okay, this is what I'm expecting from you, Mr. Producer, as a tech lead, and this is what I expect from you, design lead, as a COO. So this actually helped us a lot. We kind of thought that, okay, we know exactly what we're doing, we don't need this. But it actually helped quite a lot to understand what different roles are expecting from me and then have a unified vision of, okay, what is expected from me overall. Cool. Page 4. You shouldn't do everything. Remember to delegate. Define and understand your strengths and hire and delegate the other stuff. What are you good in? What are you interested in? What drives you the most? Understanding your strengths and weaknesses is extremely important to kind of then get rid of the other stuff, get rid of the not so pleasant stuff. Obviously, sometimes you need to do the not so pleasant stuff as well, but your core work should be something that you're good in, you're inspired to do. Because we are all unique as leaders and individuals. So for example, me as a CEO, I'm focused, because of my background, mostly I'm focused on the team, I'm focused on the development process, and I have an awesome COO that is helping me with operations and legal and finances and that sort of number stuff. So that's important. Because trying to do too many things will lead your focus to be completely scattered, and the worst thing that you can do is start micromanaging your team, and then pretty much game over at that point. Page 5. We're halfway there. Going good. Make things measurable to avoid gut feeling only decisions. And don't get me wrong, I think gut feeling and intuition is a very important tool for you as a leader. I think the gut feeling and intuition should be separated from impulsiveness. So what I mean with impulsiveness is making decision on the spot based on your feelings at that specific moment, and making decisions accordingly. So try to combine data. First gather the data and then combine that data with your intuition and then make decisions accordingly. It helps you and your stakeholders to get a good overview how things are going. It helps you to communicate how things are running in your company to your team, to your board maybe, other people outside your company. So very, very important. A couple of examples that we use to measure stuff. Monthly NPS, so Net Promoter Score. Basically, it's a pretty solid way to measure how engaged our employees are. Development KPIs, we have different types of KPIs, basically two of them. Development days per prototype, and then we have invented this lead score that basically combines CPI playtime and day one retention and some baseline monetization assumptions into one figure. And these are the two development KPIs that we use. And then financial KPIs, you could look at many stuff, but we only look at our runway. It's very simple, and it's a very effective way to tell, okay, this is how we're doing. If we have 3 months of runway left, it might be a bit of a pickle. And as an example, as transparent, these are our KPIs. So NPS that we measure every month. Then we have average development days per prototype. Good amount is, or good amount of days is roughly 15 days. And then months of runway in the worst case scenario, and then the LIT, that is actually Lightneer improvement trend line. And it basically, this is a good way for us to measure what is the improvement pace, or are we improving qualitatively as a team or not. So all of those gray bars are individual prototypes or their lit score, and then that's I think that's moving average of the past 10 releases. Cool. Page 6. Situational awareness is everything. So make sure you know what's happening around you. Kind of also tying into the previous topic that I went through. So keeping your finger on the pulse of your team, of the market, your finances, it actually helps you to make any sort of decent decisions to your team and to your future. How to increase situational awareness? One-on-one talks with the team, monthly pulse questionnaires, different types of surveys for your team, employee engagement surveys and whatnot. Very effective way to get a good understanding how your team is doing. Are there some bottlenecks that we need to solve? Is there a fire that we are not currently seeing? So very good way to do that. Then weekly or at least monthly checks on your budget, so you know roughly where your money is flowing. Play games, obviously. Read market insights, listen to podcasts. These are not, by the way, paid advertisements. That just put them there because I like them. Talk with the industry experts, and for example, today the room is filled with them. So having discussions with new guys, new faces, is definitely a good way to do this. We're actually on a roll. Page 7 already. Transparency equals trust. So the more transparent you are, the more trust you will develop. And this is, I'm looking at this from the strategy and finances perspective. So being open about your runway and financial situation will help you to develop trust within your team. Be open, where are you basing this budget to? So for example, we based this year's budget into having at least a couple of hit games. We're probably not going to reach that, but we are continuously communicating where the budget is going or should be going and where we are at the moment financially. So this is one way to help you to build trust with your team. Continuously communicate current financial status and strategy and any changes to the whole team and all challenges when they arise. I think it's very important that you don't take the challenges and just keep them. I think they should be openly communicated, and then you have the team to help you kind of solve these issues. Doing this, I think, will lead to everyone understanding where the company is and where it's going, and you also, develop trust by openly showing everything you can to the team. I understand that there are things that you cannot legally show, but it's very, very, very important. And on the topic of trust, page number 8, vulnerability equals trust. So showing vulnerability to your team develops trust and also encourages the same type of behavior among the rest of the team. This is not a CEO or leadership or lead specific thing. This is true for all roles and positions and not only the leadership roles. It's a very key aspect in any team, but I think leaders are responsible in facilitating that this happens. And I've listed here a couple of my favorite things how to build this vulnerability-based trust. First, giving thanks and facilitating some forum to give thanks openly to the team. In our operations team weeklies, what we basically do is we start the meeting by everyone thanking someone for something they actually did. So it's a good way to open yourself up, and it's a good way to have the other person open up to you as well. Share your personal histories, and this is probably my favorite one, especially for new teams. Do a Google search of your childhood home, and then tell and share one value that you still carry from that place. Very powerful, very handy. Do out of comfort zone team exercises and activities, like I mentioned before, but this is true here as well. And show emotion and be open with your thoughts and feelings. I think this is a good way to encourage the same type of behavior for the rest of your team as well. You leading as with an example. We're already at 9. Wow. Fail and improve continuously and all fronts. I think we in games industry already appreciate failure as a key part of the development process, but it's still important to state it out and enable the culture that it appreciates failing and continuous improvement as core part of game development. To enable this, again, culture, have retrospectives on all possible topics that you have in week to week development process and enable continuous improvements. Just a simple template I listed down here. These are the things that are driving us forward, and these are the things that are holding us back. The kind of like anchors and engines facilitation is a great start to raise these topics. We have retrospectives on team level, production process level, and company level, and the difference between these is just the first one, obviously, game team level. It's about team specific communication, day-to-day development. Then you have production process, which is cross-team communication, and then our tech team is also involved, and overall production process improvements are handled here. And then company level retrospectives, basically we talk about strategy shifts, or if there are any HR or people issues or anything that somebody wants to shout out loud. But I have to say that even though we've had company level retros that I've been like, okay, there's probably nothing to discuss, but let's have them anyway. Every time something surfaces, and then there's always something that we need to, or we get to fix and get to jump on. So it's very important to kind of surface these through retrospectives. Page 10. Take care of yourself. Mental and physical well-being enables you to do your job. Super obvious, right? Everyone knows the importance of good sleep and eating well and exercising well, but it's just that damn important that you enable that to do your job. I wanted to raise one topic here, mental resilience and mental well-being. I think it's very important that as a leader, you have some place or someone to kind of speak your emotions to and speak the difficulties. And it could be your team member, it could be your girlfriend, your boyfriend, it could be some external company, it could be someone from other team, as long as you have someone to kind of speak about the difficulties or speak about the challenging stuff. I go to a company called Laavo. We talk about stress management, preparing and debriefing difficult situations, leadership development and personal development. So I think it's just very important that we all take care of our mental resilience and mental well-being in addition to the other stuff. It is a difficult job to be a leader. It's not something that you should be taking lightly. Your role affects so many other people around you, so that's why it's super important that you are doing your job as well as possible. This actually goes to 11. Break rules and get out of your comfort zone. I think this was already touched previously. Super important. By going out your comfort zone, you develop and continuously. The next time you are outside your comfort zone is so much further than the previous one was, and being here was kind of away from my comfort zone, definitely. So thank you for listening, and hope you enjoyed. Thanks.
Wow, that was a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm using the app. You should use the app. But while the questions are coming in, two thoughts. First one, kind of bummed out that you didn't monetize your slides with the sponsorships. Free to watch.
True. Free to watch, yeah.
Miska would have appreciated it. Maybe for next one. But also, man, that was a lot of stuff. So how formal was that for you? Like coming up with this list? Was it that you just open up a computer and say, yeah, that's what's on my mind every single day? Or like, how do you, that's too much to remember day in, day out.
Well, to be honest, it was kind of more difficult to decide what to leave out, because like there's so many things in a leadership role that you need to take into account, as you said. Like that's why it's such a hard job to do, because you need to remember, you need to be able to give feedback well, you need to be able to have that constant goal and vision very clear to your team. You need to be able to communicate clearly, sometimes managing finances and all that stuff. There's so much there. So like to answer to your question, I think it was more what to leave out and to kind of get only the stuff that is super important for me in. So yeah.
Well, starting with the first one, how do you balance transparency with managing uncertainty? And I guess that's specifically in the context of, you want transparency, as you were saying, like including other people in the decision making and like leads with data, all that, have people do their own decisions. But at the same time, people are stressed out by the oh my God, 3 months left in the runway, are we going to die? So how do you manage that, or any tips?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that all boils down to how you communicate that stuff. So if we have a spectrum of like how lightly or how affirmatively you could communicate the difficulties, the affirmativeness being here and then the lightness being here, I think you need to find that middle ground. If you're too soft with your communication, there's a high risk that your team and your communication comes out that, okay, it's fine, we'll figure it out. And then when it's too rough or too affirmative, then it may scare people. It may sound like, okay, shit, we're in a very difficult financial situation at the moment. I'm going to start looking for a new job as soon as possible. So some kind of middle ground where you voice it out as plainly as possible, but at the same time make it so that we are all kind of figuring it out, and we are all trying to kind of make sure that we are in this together, and I would say try to find that middle ground between these two ways of communicating.
Right. So you wanna frame out that there is a challenge that needs to be overcome, and it can be overcome, and now we need to figure this out, rather than saying
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Together as a team.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens without psychological safety?
Well, many things. I think one of the key things that will happen is that it will prevent you failure, and that kind of safe environment to fail. I think it's the most important thing in game development is that you have that safe space to fail in different forms and different fronts. And if you don't have that psychological safety, you don't want to try. You're afraid of failing, and then your efforts are just like lukewarm you're not going the extra mile. So having that psychological safety enables you to fail, and I think that's what game development is all about.
Yeah, fair enough. And I would assume that you had interesting KPIs on screen just on measuring also how people are doing and all that. So obviously, if you don't have safety, then your data will be skewed as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fundamentals. So how do you promote / motivate a fail-safe, safe-to-fail culture? So practical tips.
Yeah, I think there are many ways. I think vulnerability, as I mentioned, is definitely one thing. Being open about your thoughts and like trying to promote that vulnerability across your team. Obviously, I think one of the best examples I've used previously to promote this typical safe environment and psychological safety is that if you need someone, if you need to talk to someone, the worst case that you can do, being in an office environment, to shout their name out loud and say that, hey, Pertti, come here. And then, Pertti comes and is afraid, okay, what am I going to get fired or something? So it breaks so many different rules in the kind of rules of engagement. And like how you probably should do that is, ask Pertti in Slack that, okay, Pertti, I want to talk to you about this thing. Would you be available maybe tomorrow at some point? What's your availability? Then Pertti is like, okay, I'm not gonna get fired, and I have availability tomorrow 1 p.m. So let's talk about that. And then Pertti can already prepare for the discussion. So I think that's probably one of the best examples that I've used recently, how to promote psychological safety in a workspace.
Yeah. Never surprise people.
Yeah.
For one.
Yeah.
So what have you learned about yourself after starting as a CEO?
Oh wow, that's a really good question. I think the main learning is twofold. Well, okay, but the main learning I would say that we can endure quite a lot as humans. So like previously, before I accepted the role, I was like, no way I will handle that stress. No way I will learn, the CEO-ship, and there's no way I can be, any way good in it. But turns out, mental resilience is a thing that you can actually develop, and I think that's the biggest thing I've learned about myself.
Yeah, that's great. And so that ties into another question of, was it scary to accept the CEO position, and like, what did you do first?
What did I do first? I honestly can't remember. Probably went out for a beer or two. I think what I thought about was that, like, I think there's a quote from Richard Branson that you should accept the offer and figure it out later, kind of thing. And that's what I kind of also thought, that okay, like this is a good opportunity. Like everything seemed very, very interesting. So I kind of figured what that quote from Richard Branson was, that I'll figure it out in the job.
Yeah, but paint me a picture where you like almost having that beer, looking at the job ad saying you could be a CEO, and you were like, hell yes. Or did you like really think about it for a long time, or what was that for you?
It wasn't like okay, I'm gonna jump into that right away. Obviously, CEO-ship, it's a very intimidating role. You're responsible of a large group of people, and finances and all other aspects of the company. Nice.
Who knows?
Maybe. Okay. Cool. So. Okay, coming back to what I was thinking. So yeah, I think it was intimidating, but at the same time, I kind of felt that okay, like this is a good way to jump out from the comfort zone and try completely new stuff. And yeah, I think that was my first thought. Pretty blurry. I think the beers did it.
Nah, that probably wasn't that. So how much do you communicate with your team about what game to build? So specifically about sort of the content or the business case or the boundaries around that.
Me personally, or
Yeah.
well, me personally, almost not at all. I love to play our games. I love to give feedback as a player if there's some kind of UI thing, or I feel like this could do this or that, then I might say it. But like the direction is completely on the teams and on our, for example, design lead and so on. So I try to stay away from that because I think it's, if I do that, if I go to the teams, hey, you should be doing this and you should be doing that, I rip out the ownership from the teams, and then there's a high risk of they starting to make the game for me, and that situation is completely like it will, if all the game teams would be making the games for me, I don't think they would be making great games.
Right. And as sort of a follow-up, if your team comes back to you and say, we've got this great idea for a AAA console shooter, probably going to very quickly find out where the boundaries are. So how do you come up with the boundaries, or like how does that happen?
Yeah. So basically we have like high level sandbox that we want to stay in. We come from the hyper casual world, and we made a strategic shift to develop hybrid casual games. And these hybrid casual games are something that we are still kind of trying to pinpoint where do we want to land in the spectrum of hyper casual or casual, like what does it mean for us. So I think it's a continuous job that you do with the team, and then try to pinpoint what it is to us. But I'm not going to say that okay, it's going to be specifically this. It's I think their role to find that sweet spot.
So what to do as an employee if your leader lacks these leadership skills and maybe refuses to see it themselves, or maybe just at the moment don't see that they lack these qualities? What do you do?
That is a great question. I think it depends on like what is the lead's position in the company. If it's your CEO, it might be challenging to talk with his boss to okay, I'm having difficulty with this person. But like just opening up the discussion with the person that hey, this is a thing that I didn't like. Whether it's a communication thing or whether it's well, whatever it might be, just voice it out. Say that, hey, I would like this to be handled differently, or this to be handled differently. If you see that there's no change, if you see that there's no improvement, then you have a real problem, and then you might need to jump ship and sail somewhere else.
Yeah, the step one, communicate.
For sure.
Right? Yeah. What are the biggest transformations in your personality since you started as a CEO?
I hope no changes. I feel that my strength as a leader is that I try not to have my ego involved in my leadership or making decisions or doing whatever. Like I think it's very important that because you can't fake things. You can fake for a month or two or three, and then your real kind of personality starts to jump out. So I think it's just important that you're honest to yourself and be true to yourself. So I would like to say that no major changes. Maybe I'm a bit calmer because there's so much other stuff to stress about. So I'm a bit calmer at home and whatnot. So I don't know, maybe that. So you would need to ask somebody from my.
So you feel like your stress bucket is full and you can't be more stressed anymore. So it's fine.
Exactly. It's those you have a certain amount of fucks to give and
Yeah. They have been given.
Yeah.
At 8 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly.
And then it's like smooth sailing. Yeah. I feel that. Are there any hard skills, like hard requirements you'd say that you just must tackle or should at least tackle before you jump in as a CEO?
A CEO?
Yeah, as a CEO. Like if anybody in the audience is, feels like they might, but maybe they're lacking something, are they though?
Um, I would say like experience and interest of leading people is definitely something that is very very beneficial. You can learn, you know, finances. You can learn budgeting. You can learn those types of hard skills. But like authentic want to uh, encourage and you know drive people to a certain direction and be that, you know, banner holder. I think that type of mentality is one of the hard skills that you need to have as a CEO. You need to kind of have a authentic want to be there. If you're there just, you know, for the title or something else, then I don't think it's your role.
Yeah, makes sense. And I guess you also mentioned, I guess in your case, Lavo, by sort of performance slash leadership coaching. That's one way. If you don't sort of have an immediate colleague, would you recommend them or any other sort of hot tips or how to?
I would definitely recommend them. If not, if that's out of the options, then, you know, finding someone from the industry outside your team, maybe. I think it's good that the person is outside your kind of zone, that they can understand the topic on a higher level, and also someone with some form of coaching experience and coaching experience, I would say, because I think it's important that when you are, you know, voicing out your challenges and things that you want to improve in, it's not their job to fix it for you. It's their job to ask the right questions that you will figure it out yourself. So that's kind of the all what coaching is about. So I recommend someone with coaching experience, and I think in the games industry, I think there are plenty.
Yeah, and I guess one of the easier ones would be Mentor Cafe, which, for example, happened today during lunch. So
sure.
easy way to meet people who are ready to make their time available, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, I think we can call that a wrap. So thank you so much, Henri, for I lost count, but I'll call it 11 times 8, at least 1,000 with executive math tips. That was very nice. So please give one hand